Hey, what's going on guys? Zombie here, and welcome back to another Borderlands 4 video. In today's video, we're going to be kind of showcasing and going over the best build for each Vault Hunter. And all of these builds are going to get you through UVHM 7 as well as Mayhem 20. This list is kind of just like personal preference. It's also going to be based on like how easy it is to set up, how hard the gear is to get, and then like overall damage. Now, all of these are, like I said, the strongest build for each character. So like weakest is kind of like in quotation marks, but there are like pros and cons for most of these builds anyways. So starting off at number 5, unfortunately, we do have Vex and her Ricochet build. Now this build is great for mobbing. It can absolutely clear a room in seconds. On the takedown, it's great. Well, unfortunately, where it does fall off is some of the takedown bosses. So that is kind of like why it is at the bottom of the list, is just because of the like bossing potential. Now you can still beat some of the earlier bosses in seconds, like all the vault monsters and stuff like that. And Subjugator and Thole takes just a little bit longer, but you can still platinum the fight. It's just not going to be as fast as you're wanting it to be. For the Terra fight at the end of the takedown, I have yet to get a one phase on that fight with this build. All the other builds that are in this video, I've been able to one phase them. Like I said, that's why this is at the bottom of the list. I'm not going to go over every single skill point and stuff like that, just some of the main things, but I will put a link to all of these builds in the description. You can also like just pause the video here and copy it down if you want to. All of the points do go into green tree except those two there, and go into red tree. Since it's a gun build, it is focused on getting the gun damage and getting some lifesteal in order to boost your gun damage even further. And then you have Witchy Trigger Finger as your first augment in order to refill your gun's mag, so you never have to reload. And then Desecration is going to make your action skill create a hazard doing damage over time. For your gear, your weapons really don't matter. The only one or two, I would say, that really matter is going to be the Lockjaw, and specifically with the Jacob's accessory on it, so that way it can ricochet. And that is basically like the caveat with this build, is you want everything to be Jacob's, so that way you can ricochet it. This is great for clearing your rooms and just like mobbing in general. And then the Constable is what you would use for like one-on-one fights with bosses. The rep kit is going to be the triple bypass. That way we can get the 3 charges and pair that with caffeine to get our action skill back faster. The Ordnance, you can pretty much use anything, and you can sustain Ordnance pretty well with this build as well, as long as you're getting lucky with your crits and doing your Witchy Trigger Finger. The Dropner obviously has the highest damage in the game for Ordnance, but you could use something like the Heimdall as well. We have the Teen Witch class mod, which is going to give us lifesteal on our shields, which is going to pair up with the Watts for Dinner, which gives us amp shots every time our shield is full, and it will pretty much always be full. Then we have the enhancement. You want a Jacob's enhancement with at least one of those abilities. 2 is perfect, obviously, but you can get away with one of them. And then the main thing is going to be gun damage as a passive. Now for the firmware, we do have 2 in Deadeye, and that's going to give us extra crit damage, and then active fire, which is going to give us more damage and charge rate. Specializations, like I said, we have now with caffeine, full spectrum arsenal, riddle you this, and best defense. And these 2 here are going to give you even more damage based on your health and shield, and then the other just how many times that you are hitting enemies. These will always be at maximum stacks. Honorable mention does go to Rafa's Tediore Chuck build. This is great for mobbing. It's great for some of the earlier bosses and stuff like that. However, on some of the stronger fights, just like with the Vex build, it does fall off. This falls off way more than hers does. There's just not a lot of damage output from the Tediore Chucks in order to actually complete the takedown. Now, coming in at number 4, we do have Rafa's Arc Knives melee build. This build is crazy. The amount of damage that is coming out of this man is crazy. So like with this build, you are buffing your melee damage, but then you're also adding in extra dots on top of that and extra instances of damage. So with Inferno Protocol, you're going to be dealing incendiary damage, and then with El Borracho, you're going to be dealing corrosive damage. With the Sparky Shield, you're going to be doing shock damage. Like, you're doing all kinds of different damage all at once, and a ridiculously amount of it. Now, it is fun to use, but the only thing that I have issues with on this build is like when you go to attack an enemy, sometimes you'll just fly past the enemy because like you're dashing and you're not dashing to the enemy. It's like a set distance that you're dashing, and so you're always dashing past these enemies. Also, the one weakness, the one thing that is realistically going to kill you in this build is barrels or exploding enemies, because they just apparently will one-shot you with this build. Every other enemy that's shooting you, shooting rockets, no, it's fine. Barrels is the problem. I died so many times trying to record for this video to barrels. And so mobbing, you'll just like run past an enemy and it'll die. You don't even need to attack it. So like it's great for like crowd control. And then bossing, I don't know what it is, like what's going on with the skills and stuff and the interaction that's going on, but you'll just kill Terra in like half a second with almost no setup. You'll shoot your beam tosser at it, activate your action skill, kill one enemy, and then like it just deletes the health bar. Like it's non-existent at that point. Guns, you don't need them. You just need something that's going to give you a second wind when you inevitably go down to a barrel. And then the triple bypass, just like with Vex, you want to keep your action skill coming back as quick as possible. Then you have the Buster Comm that's going to just buff your Apophis Lance, like I said, the Sparky Shield to attack other enemies nearby, and then just something that's going to increase your gun damage for your enhancement. And then you want to make sure that you're getting 3 in Skillcraft because you're doing a ton of skill damage. And then Rubber Band Man just for the lifesteal, really. And then for specializations, we do have Now with Caffeine with the triple bypass. We have I Am a Gun, which is going to make action skill damage benefit from your gun damage, which you are boosting in your skills. You have Bare Arms, which is going to increase melee damage based on the increases of gun damage. So that's 2 instances that you are buffing your action skill right there. And then Groundbreaker, which just like with Amon's old like melee build, before it kind of got like nerfed in a way, or they changed the interaction. Any damage that you do is stored, and then when you melee attack, that stored damage is then going to go on that enemy. Since your action skill is melee, you're going to be like always proccing this, since you're doing like 3 million damage per enemy. It's just going to keep stacking and then killing the enemies there. Now, coming in at number 3, we do have Harlowe and her infinite crit build. This build is solely focused on your gun damage. This build is great at mobbing, since you do have, it's kind of similar to the Vex build with like the ricochets and stuff like that, so you're able to clear a room within seconds. But on bossing, it is way better than the Vex build. You can do an insane amount of damage to these bosses that you can pretty much one-phase the Terra fight. And even if you can't one-phase the Terra fight, you can keep your action skill long enough that once that second phase starts, you can delete them. This build's super easy to set up. Once you get the Capstone Group Study, it turns your Flux Generator into a Halo sidekick, and then that's just gonna follow you around. That way you don't have to like stay in one place. You can go around like the entire takedown, and it will be there with you. And while you're inside of it, you're going to be getting gun damage, fire rate, and reload speed. And since it is a gun build, you want to boost those stats as much as possible. The great thing about this capstone is that you can re-trigger it and keep boosting those stats. So every time that you activate that action skill, you get a 25% bonus to gun damage, 10% to fire rate, and 10% to reload speed, but it is also going to make your action skill drain faster. And then thanks to our class mod, it's giving us 3 in sustained reaction, which every time that we kill an enemy, it's going to refill our action skill. So the action skill will always be active, and then you can keep proccing it to get your gun damage higher and higher. You never have to reload with critical funding, because every time that you hit a crit, your gun is getting reloaded. You're also going to want as many bonuses to crit damage as you can, and then all of your status effect damage is getting boosted as well. Gear wise, literally anything. It does help if you're using anything with Jacobs on it, because you're already getting crits, so then you are bouncing those crits to other enemies. So that makes the Juliet Sparkle shine, because you're shooting so fast and you're hitting all these enemies, those stars that you have a 33% chance to spawn are pretty much constantly spawning. The Falky is also a very, very good weapon. You don't want to have to go for a Pearl. You can go for the Falky, and that's going to do an insane amount of damage as well. This is one of my favorite SMGs to be using. For the rep kit, we have the Shiny War Paint, and that's because it's going to give us increased fire rate and movement speed. And then it has the Enrage secondary on it, going to increase all of our damage as well. You can use pretty much any ordnance. The Heimdall is one of the best because you just shoot it and forget about it. And since you're proccing crits and that refills your magazine, you can keep this Heimdall up forever. And for the class mod, we have the Phlebotomist, and that's going to be because of the skills that it gives you. Like I said, we have sustained reaction, and that's going to give us our action skill back when we crit. And then it's also going to be doing bleed, and that bleed does double damage to bosses. And then we have the Watts per Dinner for the increased damage as well. And then a legendary Jacob's enhancement for the bounces, and then the gun damage and crit damage. Firmware, you want Deadeye because you are doing a lot of crits, and then High Caliber for that 10% gun damage. For our specializations, we want anything with gun or crit damage. So for that, we have Honed Mind, which is going to give our action skills increased chance to crit, and then I Am a Gun to give our action skills bonus damage because it's going to be reliant on our gun damage. Riddle You This for even more gun damage, and then Best Defense for even more damage. Literally like the only con to this build could be like your aim, because you are just able to clear rooms so quickly. Now, coming in at number 2, and this might be a little bit controversial, but it is going to be Amon's Infinite Ordnance build. This is by far like my favorite build across all the characters. It is so simple. You just pull out an ordnance and shoot it and then forget about it. Your main skills is going to be Tail of the Comet because you're going to be boosting your ordnance damage, and then Blackout, which is going to give those ordnance a chance to crit, and then it's going to apply shock damage. So you're wanting to boost all of your status effects and then all of like your ordnance or gun damage. For guns, you can use anything. You're not really going to be using them as like to kill anything like bosses and stuff like that. You're really going to only need them for second wins. So you can use like the Constable or a Hot Slugger, just anything that's going to be able to get you back up quickly. The main thing that we're going to be using for this build is the Heimdall, and that is because it homes in and will just attack enemies wherever. You don't even need to like think about them, so you can just keep shooting this as long as you're getting your crits, because it's going to refill your ordnance on crits thanks to these skills. Now, this is great for mobbing. It can kill most of the bosses in one phase. However, for Terra, you want a Dropner. Now, you do only get 13 shots, but like I said, every time you get a crit, it's going to refill some of that magazine. Terra is a very big enemy. You can get all 3 discs to hit, and that is 3 crits right there. So you can pretty much just keep shooting, and then you'll pretty much one phase Terra. If you get unlucky, you might have to go to a second phase, but most of the time with this build, it will one phase Terra. For the rep kit, we have the Kill Spring, and that's because every time we get a kill, it's going to heal us, because you can't use a rep kit and keep your ordnance out. You can't activate your action skill and keep your ordnance out. You have to do your action skill first and then pull your ordnance out. We have a Icebringer class mod, and that is because that's going to give us even more Tail of the Comet. And then you want to make sure that you're getting like ordnance damage and damage dealt really. And then we have a Watts for Dinner for even more shock damage. And then I have a legendary Ripper enhancement to boost the Dropner for like the bosses and stuff, because it is a Ripper ordnance. You really could like switch in between if you want, but this is going to be giving us increased gun damage and gun status effect damage. So it is more than enough. For our firmware, we have Skillcraft for even increased skill damage. And then we have Gadget Ahoy for even more ordnance damage. The specializations, we have Best Defense for more damage based on health and shield. Riddle You This for increased gun damage the more we shoot something. And then we have Contamination, which every time that we get a crit, it increases our status effect chance. So that's even more chance to do shock damage and cryo damage and stuff like that, which is what is boosted with this build. And then the main thing is Full Spectrum Arsenal, which is going to give our ordnance bonus damage based on our gun damage. At number 1, we do have the gun cash build. This build's super easy. You just throw out your bone totems, get your bonuses with windfall, and then when windfall happens, you're doing a crazy amount of damage there. You're never having to reload because you have War Wagon, but the main thing that makes this build shine is from Gloam to Glow, which is going to give you increased overshield, so you know you have your survivability, but whenever you lose a fortune stack, you're going to be doing bonus damage based on your overshield. So you're going to be wanting to have like your skills that make you lose your fortune because you're going to be losing your fortune stacks and then boosting your damage. For gear, literally anything. I like using the Falky. Like I said, it's one of my favorite SMGs. And for the takedown, you're going to want at least a corrosive convergence with a Jacob's accessory because you want to be clearing these rooms as fast as possible. With his skills, there are chances to go into windfall when hitting crits, and you're pretty much always going to be hitting crits with this as well. For the rep kit, we have the shiny war paint, which is going to give us increased fire rate and movement speed, and then it also has enrage on it to give us even more damage. The class mod we're using is the Wind Rider, and every time that we kill an enemy with a critical hit, it will double the current fortune stacks. But if you kill an enemy without a crit, it will take away half your fortune stacks. But since it's taking away, you're getting even more damage because of the skills. Only thing, like the only con for this build is survivability. So you are going to be wanting to use a shield that has a high capacity. And then we have the legendary Ripper enhancement, and then even more damage and crit damage on the passives. Because we're hitting crits, we want Deadeye to increase that damage from the crits, and then High Caliber for the gun damage. So for specializations, we do have Best Defense again, because we are pretty much always going to be at full health and shields. That's going to be a 30% more increase to damage. We have I Am a Gun to increase our action skill damage, and then we have Riddle You This to increase our gun damage, and Bullet Train, which is going to give us extra gun damage while sprinting and be able to shoot and sprint at the same time. This build is really, really good for everything. Like I said, you have the convergence, so you're always going to be hitting crits and it's going to be bouncing to other enemies, so you're going to be able to clear those rooms insanely quick. Once you hit Windfall, it gets way, way, way quicker. You can platinum every single one of the raid bosses. You can platinum the takedown at Mayhem 20. There's a reason it's at number 1. It is like, it's the best build in the game. And that's going to do it for today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I would love it if you guys go down in the comments and let me know which builds you guys are using, which ones are your favorite. And if you guys enjoyed or found this video helpful, leave a like and subscribe. If you didn't find it helpful and you didn't like it, leave a dislike. That's okay. Yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.